Have you ever tried to rank the snakes from worst to best? I've been asked a few times who's my favorite snake, and although I could never decide, it got me thinking about how I would list the snakes from my most hated to my most favorite. Heads up, this video will have spoilers for the entire Metal Gear Solid series. Welcome back everyone. If you're new here, my name is Luffy and welcome to my channel. I talk video games and characters. Let's get into my list of worst snake to best. Big Boss. The worst of the worst. Why do I hate Big Boss? He hurt me real bad in MGS5. Metal Gear Solid 1 wasn't my first Metal Gear Solid, so I didn't get the outrage people felt when they were switcherooed with Raiden in MGS2. I got it in MGS5 though. Oh, I got it. I felt so tricked. I thought we were rounding the series out with BB, previously my favorite snake, but to find out we were just a body double. Not only was it messed up for Venom, who didn't consent to be BB's body double and was instead brainwashed into it, but it was messed up for him to trick us into his body double as well. He throws Kaz away after Peace Walker. Part of me understands why he threw him away, he'd betrayed him after all, though the other part of me rages against betraying such a sunshiny boy that Kaz is. I played MGS Peace Walker after MGS5, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I loved getting back into a game with BB in it, and seeing the fallout from MGS3 where he was clearly still grieving the boss. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of Peace Walker is realizing BB body modded himself to have the boss's C-section scar. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in gaming. A legendary warrior misses his pseudo-mom so much he copies her C-section scar? What even? Who comes up with this? Anyways, at the end of Peace Walker, BB shoots the doorknob, and I can't forgive him for that. Big Boss hadn't killed up until that point, unless he kills in Portable Ops. Don't tell me if he does, I haven't played it yet, so no spoilers please. In game, it was always player's choice whether or not BB killed, but in cutscenes, he always disarmed and incapacitated. He never killed. Then Zadornov gave him a little trouble and escapes a few too many times, and BB shoots him in the heart? And I don't care what BB says, he did not have to shoot Zadornov. He absolutely wasn't a threat to BB. I know Zadornov tries to shoot BB, but his aim is crap. His many escapes are played up for comedic effect.
Zadornov? What's he got, an escape fetish?
So BB shooting him point blank was shockingly grim for what seemed like was a lighthearted moment. A lot of times, players are rewarded with the title Big Boss if they can beat a Metal Gear Solid game with no alerts and no kills. Because Big Boss doesn't kill. And it's not that Zadornov is the one who dies, I couldn't care less about him. It's that BB's morals are so compromised that he doesn't hesitate to shoot someone who's clearly not a threat to him. And I know BB had to turn into monster villain mode at some point, but for some reason seeing this happen really upset me. It was after BB made his own Metal Gear and got a nuke of his own. It really was the final straw. Solidus. You may think I hate Solidus because he comes right after BB, but BB is where my hating of the snakes stops. I don't hate any snake, other than BB. Solidus is in the bottom of my list because someone had to be, and unfortunately Solidus isn't as memorable as the other snakes. He's pretty tame in comparison. Yes, he's trying to take down the Patriots' AIs as a secret good guy, but he doesn't have any over-the-top ideas of how genetics work, nor does he try to flirt badly with every woman he meets. He's pretty normal compared to his fellow snakes. I know a lot of people hate Solidus for what he did to Raiden. Solidus caused Raiden a lot of mental anguish, and I never want to make light of that. I just also can't bring myself to hate him for it. Solidus was a victim too. He was a child soldier himself in that war, even if he looked physically older, and it clearly warped him into the darker person he became. Part of me wonders how Solidus and Liquid would have shook out had they had a better, more loving upbringing. As it stands, I love what we get of Solidus. He's such a complicated character, and it's so interesting to see him and Raiden explore their past relationship and how it mirrored Snavid's with BB. It cracks me up how fed up Solidus gets in MGS2 too. He's so fed up with Ocelot and Olga's arguing, and it's hilarious to watch him try and keep his crumbling team together long enough to accomplish his goals.
Where is Ocelot?
Not here.
I don't trust him.
Don't talk that way about one of your own.
He's not one of my own. He left my father to die, remember?
Olga, we'll talk later. We need to get started on the final checks for the unit.
Solid Snake. Snavid cracks me up. He's such a goober. In MGS1, he flirts badly with every woman he comes across, and it's too much for me.
What's wrong?
Nothing. I just didn't expect a world-class designer of military technology to be so cute.
MGS1 is so much fun because of all the flirting and joking Snavid does, despite the dark tone of the game. In MGS2, Snavid's supposed to be this cool enigma, Iroquois Pliskin. But he can't keep up the facade for more than 2 seconds at any given time. He has a little buggy on him from his insertion point when he tries to convince Raiden that he'd come in with this SEAL team that gives away that he's lying. He doesn't stick with SEAL team mottos and sprinkles in military mottos from multiple different militaries.
Who dares, wins. Semper Fi.
That man's no SEAL.
He's just all around a terrible undercover operative, and it's endlessly entertaining. In MGS4, it makes me sad because no one laughs at Snavid's jokes anymore. There's a few times where he tries to lighten the mood, but everyone ignores him.
A giant microwave oven. You'd have to have a death wish to go in there. Sounds like the perfect job for me.
Snake, this isn't the time for your stupid jokes.
Naked Snake. I wasn't sure if I should count him separately, but Naked Snake is so definitively different from Big Boss that I thought I should. I really feel for Naked Snake. He's going through the worst time of his life and is still trying to process the betrayal from his pseudo-mom. Despite this, he still finds time to tease a baby Ocelot and drool over some guns. MGS3 was meant to humanize BB, and it did an excellent job. BB being so afraid of vampires and having nightmares after he's tortured is so sad. Also, I love food, so BB won me over the moment I realized he was ready to eat everything in his path and give it a deliciousness rating.
I see you caught yourself a rat.
So how do they taste?
They're rats.
Raiden. Raiden is also a giant goober. The first time I played MGS2, when I heard Raiden mistake the Colonel say node for nerd, I knew I was going to love him.
There's a terminal in front of the elevator. A node.
Did you say nerd?
Not nerd. Node.
Oh.
How did he mess that up? Also, this is the beginning of the mission, Raiden. Get your head in the game and pay attention. I know a lot of people hate the drama between Rose and Raiden, but I find it endlessly entertaining. Rose refusing to save for Raiden when they're arguing during the mission and refusing to call Raiden by his codename is so absurdly unprofessional, I can't help but laugh. One of my favorite parts of the game is when Rose and Raiden are arguing about how Raiden refuses to decorate his room while he's naked and strapped to a table, having been tortured. Like, is this the time or the place to be having this conversation? It's so absurd. Raiden's such an endearing character. Raiden encouraging EE while not having any concrete solutions for her is really sweet and makes me think of my little brother. When they're swimming through the flooded sections of the big shell, he tells her to signal to him if she's running out of air, and she asks what he's going to do in response. Raiden tells her he'll swim faster. This response always makes me snort. Like, there really isn't anything else he can do, but it's still such a comical answer. And as unprofessional as it is, I love every time Raiden scoffs or says, "Oh crap." It's so cute. Venom. I love Venom so much. It was so hard not to put him at the top of my list, but I also take into account how much these characters make me laugh or spark joy, and Venom's story is too sad to spark a lot of joy. Still though, I love Venom's quiet nature. I know a big complaint is that he has no personality, but I think he's got a ton of personality if you're patient enough, or delusional enough, to look for it. Venom likes animals, is willing to give everyone a chance, and is super trusting. You'd have to be to accept drugs from an old man you just met in a basement. All of these are really adorable traits to have. Liquid. Where do I even start with Liquid? I almost put Liquid at the top of my list. I love Liquid's energy. He's constantly plotting, thinking, monologuing, explaining. He has a pep to his step even when the odds are against him and it looks like he's going to lose. I cannot believe how many times we have to fight Liquid in MGS1. He just won't die. He's such a passionate person. Part of me wishes he could have achieved BB's dream of making Outer Heaven even better than he could. It gives Michael Scott vibes when he says he's going to start dating Pam's mom even harder despite her. My introduction to Liquid was as a ghost arm, and in that moment my fate to love him was sealed. I love unpredictably ridiculous plot twists, and as MGS2 was my first Metal Gear Solid, I had no idea who this Liquid guy was. Just that he was a ghost arm, and I adored that. I wanted 5 more games with this ghost arm starring as the main villain. Big Boss. I know, wait, what, Big Boss? Didn't we already talk about him as my most hated snake? Here's the thing. Up until Peace Walker, BB was my favorite. If I'm being honest in this list, I have to admit that. BB is such a complicated character. MGS3 tore me to pieces in the best possible way. The first time I got to the ending in MGS3 is like a core memory for me. I was so upset, I refused to pull the trigger on the boss. If you wait too long though, the game pulls the trigger for you. I felt like such a coward as soon as that shot rang out. The boss wanted a warrior's death, and I would have denied her that. Then Bibi cries later while visiting her grave, and I could barely stand it. Bibi is featured or talked about in every MGS game, so we get these little snippets of him from perspectives, and it only makes me want to know him more. I feel kinda like Sniper Wolf or Grey Fox. I can't help but love him. Every snake on this list deserves to be higher up than Bibi. But for some reason, I can't help but put him on the top. I love how over the top Bibi is. When he loses his pseudo-mom, he body mods himself to have her C-section scar. Who does that? He almost lets himself get fooled into thinking an AI is the boss, and can we blame him? Wouldn't it be nice if we could bring our loved ones back, even if they were just an AI? Bibi's grief is really relatable. We all want to honor and hold on to the ones we love. Thank you so much for making it to the end of my video. What order would you rank the snakes in? Who's your most hated snake? Who's your favorite? If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. It really helps the channel out. Join us in Discord. We're always talking about MGS. More importantly than that though, please take care of yourselves, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Thank you.